And I know you've come from different parts of Mumbai, so thanks for making the way for our press conference. Before we get started, can I request all of you to please put your phones on silent? Thank you. That'll be really good. So just to get started, over the last few years, New Zealand has grown from strength to strength. We have seen, we've expanded our footprint in India and have seen an increase in student numbers coming from India to New Zealand. The numbers have grown. The quality of students in terms of high caliber students that we're seeing now in New Zealand campuses has grown quite a bit. We've also seen and amplified collaboration opportunities between institutions in India and New Zealand. So like at the moment, we've got a huge number of academics going across various campuses in India. With that as a backdrop, for today's press conference, I would like to invite on stage New Zealand High Commissioner to India, Her Excellency Ms. Joanna Kemkers, to inaugurate the session for today and give you a start with the New Zealand-India relationship. So over to Joanna, High Commissioner. Thank you.
Tihei mauri ora, ena mana, ena reo, ena haue wha, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. It's a very long way of saying greetings to you all, to all the people that have come from near and far, and to welcome you here today. New Zealand is a country of 4.5 million people at pretty much the other end of the earth. So what is it that New Zealand and India might have in common? Much more than you might think. We've got a shared Commonwealth heritage. Yeah, that's pretty evident. We've got a shared language in English, but also in Hindi. Hindi is the fourth most commonly spoken language in New Zealand. We've got a strong passion for cricket. And we've got common values, a respect for human rights and the rule of law. Our relationship is of long standing. Not many people know that it was in 1810 that the first person of Indian origin settled in New Zealand. He happened to be a Bengali sailor who stepped off the boat and fell in love with a local woman and decided that he just had to stay. Since then, our troops have served alongside each other. Indian troops actually serving in the same Anzac Brigade as New Zealanders and Australians in First World War when they landed at Gallipoli in Turkey. Since then, our people-to-people links have gone from strength to strength. And today, 4% of New Zealand's population are people of Indian origin. We have 3 Indian origin MPs in New Zealand. And in the last year, 55,000 people from India visited New Zealand, and 66,000 people from New Zealand visited India. Moving to the education relationship that we're here to discuss today, more than 25,000 students from India studied in New Zealand in 2016. The vast majority of those students who study in New Zealand make a very valuable and positive contribution to New Zealand campuses and to its society. The data from this year, preliminary as it is, says that it's shaping up to be a very good year, with numbers going into our tertiary and higher levels of study growing well. To encourage Indian students of high calibre to choose New Zealand universities, Education New Zealand, along with our 8 universities, has launched the New Zealand Excellence Award last year, featuring partial scholarships for deserving Indian students studying business, design and STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics subjects. The overall budget was New Zealand $160,000. If my maths is right, that's about 80 lakh rupees. And it covered 31 awardees. Those scholarships received a great reception in India, in all parts of India, and selected students are now pursuing their courses in New Zealand. Some of them had an opportunity to be acknowledged by the New Zealand Minister of Tertiary Education Minister Paul Goldsmith, at the India-New Zealand Business Council Summit in Auckland last month. I'll now present to you some of the Indian students who were awarded the first round of scholarships in the New Zealand Excellence Awards and the fine universities in which they studied. Play the video, please.
I study an MBA at the University of Canterbury, Christchurch. Studying in New Zealand has really provided a new insight into the way of how teaching should be. I really love the way the lectures are delivered. Every time they teach us, they just do not teach us from the books. It's also from the experience which they bring in.
It feels amazing to study in New Zealand. I came here last year and it was such a beautiful experience. They have amazing opportunities here and facilities here in which we can explore a lot more about ourselves as students. The qualification that we get from the university here is globally acknowledged.
I study accounting at Victoria University of Wellington. The professors are amazing, they're very friendly. The infrastructure is world class. The people here are very, very friendly. It feels like home already.
It's got beautiful nature, it's creative. You've got like a perfect balance of life and fun and professionalism here.
New Zealand Excellence Award has made me feel very proud of myself.
Winning the New Zealand
For today's media conference. This is a massive commitment from Education New Zealand and from all of our 8 New Zealand universities. This just shows strengthening of relationships between both countries. And the Excellence Awards will go a long way in getting more and more Indian students to become scholars in New Zealand. I do understand, though, that the New Zealand Excellence Awards are one of the announcements, and there are a lot of more initiatives underway. And Education New Zealand has strong commitment towards strengthening that relationship. And with that, can I now request Education New Zealand's Regional Director for South, Southeast Asia and the Middle East, Mr. John Laxon, to come on stage and give us a brief understanding on the relationship, the education relationship between India and New Zealand. So over to you, John. Thank you.
Good afternoon, namaste and kia ora, as we say in New Zealand. Thank you, Jugnu, and Your Excellency, High Commissioner, Ms. Joanna Kempkes. It's a pleasure to be with you here this afternoon to talk about the plethora of education initiatives which Education New Zealand is proud to announce today. And in sum, these initiatives continue to position New Zealand as the new and brightest destination for Indian students who want a positive learning experience and global career opportunities. The first initiative which I would like to talk to you today about is the New Zealand Academic Guest Lecture Series. Initiated in 2016, the second series of our Academic Guest Lecture Series involves 9 world-leading academics from New Zealand universities giving 27 lectures to Indian students at prestigious institutes, Indian Institutes of Technology and universities across 5 of our key cities, Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune and Delhi. These academics are from varied fields including life sciences, biogeography, engineering, management, maths, social work, and a discipline I found out about just recently, drone science for GNS technologies. This lecture series really is about demonstrating that from New Zealand's perspective, the bilateral education relationship with India is a two-way street. We are investing in bringing our brightest academics to India so that Indian students can have the chance to work with world-leading academics from world-leading universities in innovative and new research areas. Longer term, we also see the guest lecture series as being a vital ingredient for growing institutional partnerships between our leading New Zealand universities and universities and institutes of technology here in India. We are looking forward to these linkages growing over the coming years and hopefully to our Indian students becoming academics either in New Zealand or India and contributing to this bilateral relationship for years to come. The second initiative which I'm proud to announce here today is the Education New Zealand Recognised Agency Fairs for September 2017. Education New Zealand recognises 16 education agencies across India who we are proud to stand beside as providing positive and high quality education advice to students who are looking to study abroad. This partnership symbolises that we want Indian students to have a positive education experience right from when they are considering where to study abroad, and that's through them and their families being confident in the advice that they receive from education agencies. That's why we are partnering with recognised agencies to run a series of 3 fairs through the month of September. And so far we have run fairs in Mumbai and Chennai. Ambassador Miss Kriti Sanon. With a lot of consideration, we have chosen Kriti to represent Education New Zealand. Born in a typical Indian family with an emphasis on education, including a chartered accountant father and a Delhi University professor as a mother, which I'm sure would have meant that homework was a priority in the household, Kriti's story really exemplifies the global opportunities that can be created where there is a commitment to education. And that's why from Education New Zealand's perspective, we are proud not just to partner with Kriti to promote New Zealand as an education destination.
So that's the hongi, as John said. That is a traditional New Zealand Māori greeting. And you notice that we pressed our foreheads and noses together, and in doing so we share the breath of life with each other, and it's a way of intermingling our souls and welcoming Kriti truly to the New Zealand family.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Now that you are inducted into the larger New Zealand Inc. family, how does it feel?
It feels great, firstly, and it feels great to be a part of the New Zealand family. And thank you so much for welcoming me in the most traditional way. Hongi was a very different and great experience, and I love the concept behind it. I think it's very, very interesting. I think education is something that I have always really felt very strongly for. And I'm glad that even though I've sort of switched my path to a filmy career, I'm glad that I'm still able to do something in the line of education for the students of our country. And thank you so much. I hope that I'm able to inspire a lot of people and help them shape their career prospects in a better way.
Yeah, great. So I think a lot of people here would like to know a little bit about you and how was it growing up, and in your family, what was the thing on education? What was the emphasis of education with your parents and your rest of the family?
Well, as John said, my mom's a professor in Delhi University. She teaches physics, so I was always good at physics. And my dad's a chartered accountant. So education was always very, very important in my house, and it was very important to do well also. So I was a very studious kid, getting above 90% in all my classes. And I was one of those kids who can't sleep without finishing your course if you have an exam tomorrow. The front benchers, what we call. Yeah, I think, that thing was inculcated in me that whatever I do, I have to give it my best and I have to do it right. So that was always there, and I chose to go for engineering in electronics and communication, which again, I think, it doesn't only help you increase or enhance your analytic ability, but I think it also teaches you how to work best under pressure, because you have exams like thrice in 4 months, which is insane. When I realized what I wanted to do in life, when I realized my passion, I was still told by my parents, and it's something that I wanted myself to complete my degree, to complete my education, because I feel that primary education and a good qualification not only makes you feel secure, but also somewhere improves your personality. It's what makes you have your opinions in life.
Sure.
You know, what you want to do, your sense of right and wrong. You're more aware and you're more confident about every decision that you're making in life.
Yeah.
So I think education has been like the thing in my family which you have to do no matter what.
So yeah, we've got a physics whiz kid and a studious student. High Commissioner, would you like to add something on the importance of education, both as the head of mission for New Zealand in India and also as a parent of young children?
Thanks, Jagu. Well, yeah, as a parent, it's really important that we guide our children and encourage in them the interest in education. That's not to say that we have to direct them into one particular area or another, but that we really try and foster in them that love of thinking, of school, and of education in general. Because in a lot of cases, kids don't understand the importance of education. Why do I have to do my homework? Why do I have to, why? And in the case of my kids, they don't understand why I drag them halfway around the world. But it does create interesting conversations. And a few weeks ago, we had a really interesting conversation in my house about the importance of being a global citizen, which is one of the reasons why I do drag my kids halfway around the world. And I think getting an international education really does help you understand why it's important to be a global citizen if you can, why you should help try and solve some of the problems that are besetting the world rather than living in your own little bubble. Getting that international education in New Zealand really rewards students who want to think critically, to question the status quo, to be a bit innovative, and really to think independently, creatively. So it's a great opportunity for them to see a different part of the world and a different way of thinking and doing things.
Yeah, I agree, totally. I think both of you did emphasize on the fact that innovation and creativity is at the helm of all changes.
Yeah, true.
So I think with that change, we come back to you, Kriti, on how is it transitioning from very studious academic engineer to films, and how do you think that degree helped you work or change your career path?
You know, I think it's so strange because as a kid I was so shy that when someone used to come to my house, I used to just go and hide like behind my mom. So coming to a time where I'm facing live audience, I'm acting in front of the camera, where there are like hundreds of people around, and not being conscious. I think it is the education that I've gotten that's over the time helped me. Education, I feel, is firstly a lifelong process. It's not every day you're learning something new, something different. Even today when I'm working on the set, I'm learning new things every day, and I'm growing as a person because of that. Not too many of us, I feel, realize our passions very soon in life. I think they're only fortunate people who know exactly what they're passionate about, what they want to do in their life, you know. And I think I realized that when I started modeling when I was in my second year of college. But to have the confidence to just switch in a different direction also needs, you know, a sense of security, which I think my educational degree gave to me and to my parents to a large extent. Because I just wanted to finish my degree. I had 2 job offers in my hand, but I knew what I really wanted to do. And that certainty in your mind, you know, of chasing your dreams, that confidence that you have, I think it all comes from being educated, because you know the pros and cons of things. You form opinions. You're more aware of what's happening around and what can be done and what can be achieved. So I think it has helped me a lot. In fact, even today when I'm on set, I feel engineering does one thing: it makes you question a lot. You learn how to put logics to everything that you do. You don't just follow directions. You know everything has a why to it. So I think when I'm on set, when I'm thinking of a character, I'm someone who asks a lot of questions, but it's important for me because it's important for me to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. Sure. And yeah, I think putting logic to things is something that's come from education that I use in my everyday life as an actor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think well said. It's a whole life learning process. And John, on that, would you like to sort of give some thoughts on how New Zealand education helps develop that lifelong learning education opportunity for students?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Jigna. Well, first of all, I think one point to emphasise is that our education system is built on the sorts of inquisitiveness and critical thinking that Kriti was talking about. So right from the school age through to our universities and other institutions, we have very open and collaborative learning environments, and that gives a positive learning experience for students to go out to question things and also to connect in with other international students, New Zealand students, and with industry. New Zealand's fortunate enough to welcome more than 130,000 international students to our country. So we are proud of the fact that we give those international students opportunity. So whether that's connecting with our ministers or Prime Minister, in the case of our New Zealand Excellence Award recipients, or to connecting in with industry. So all of our students, international students, can apply for work rights and connecting and have internships at our universities as well. So all of those features allow students to not only critically think about their future career prospects, but also to connect in New Zealand and abroad to make those career prospects happen.
Yeah, true, absolutely. So Kriti, why did you sort of choose to associate yourself with New Zealand education?
Firstly, as I said, education is something that I'm always all in for. I think it's so important for every individual. And I think in the times that we are in and the coming time, I think technology is something that's becoming more and more important with every passing day. And I think we need to come to a point where we help a future generation that is more of a global citizens. You know, it consists of more of global citizens who are not only having an educational qualification, but at the same time are able to adapt to different cultures, are able to adapt to different surroundings, are able to collaborate with people from across the world, and just come at par with everyone who's around in different parts of this world. So I think it's very important to just go out there, experience things, to experience different ways of education. I think the methods of education are so different in every country. And New Zealand, I feel, has one of the best opportunities, the maximum variety of courses with, as he said, a very, very safe, a very positive and multicultural environment. All the universities of New Zealand come under the top 3% globally, which is superb. I myself have so many cousins who actually have gone and studied, done their postgrads and all in New Zealand, and they've spoken some great things about it. So I think for people in India, I feel it's important to just also go out there and have the opportunities to study what you really like in an environment which is very different and very global.
Yeah. Great. I think New Zealand definitely is one of the safest and the most beautiful countries in the world. So absolutely agree on that. Kriti, John, would you like to add on the kind of courses that we are seeing Indian students go and pursue in New Zealand over the last few years? And what are the changes, sort of trends that we are seeing now?
Yes. So traditionally, the STEM subjects, science, mathematics, the finances have been the most popular courses that we've seen students choosing to study in New Zealand. But we have seen some exciting trends, particularly from our Indian students who are choosing New Zealand, where they are looking for subjects that differentiate themselves from the pack. You know, it's becoming, as Kriti said, an increasingly competitive global environment, both in terms of technology and in career prospects. So we're seeing students taking more niche subjects, particularly in terms of sustainability and environmental studies in the New Zealand case, where we're world leaders in those areas, but also in other technology fields such as robotics, or even the creative industries such as animation or film production or the like. So there are, and it's one of the things that New Zealand prides itself on, many niche programs that can help international students from all over the world just differentiate themselves from some of the more traditional markets, and that's why we're seeing significant growth, and in fact this year alone we've seen a 40% increase in the number of Indian students choosing to study in New Zealand universities.
Yeah. So that's really great. High Commissioner, would you like to add anything from your perspective that you've seen over your recent months in India, education develop?
Well, one of the things that I find really exciting is the fact that we're encouraging more high-caliber Indian students to do PhDs or doctoral studies in New Zealand. As someone who's supported a partner going through a doctoral study themselves, I know how critical it is that the package that supports the whole family is right. And the New Zealand government does provide a very good package for PhD students in New Zealand, in that they only pay domestic student fees. Their family members are able to access full-time work, and if they have children, their children are also able to attend New Zealand schools in the same way as that New Zealand children can, paying only New Zealand domestic fees. And in most cases, primary education in New Zealand is free.
Great. So that sort of sums up our discussion for today, and I think what's quite visible from our discussion, right from different types of courses to Kriti being extremely studious student, to the increase in student numbers. New Zealand's definitely that pot of gold sitting at the end of the rainbow. And if I was to give you just a sum up of the advantages, I mean, it's definitely a safe, warm, positive environment for students. All our universities are in the top 3%. New Zealand offers holistic education. Also, I think last but no way the least is that it offers students a taster into the Kiwi outdoors, and that's something that Indian students do miss to a large extent. I mean, maybe it's the weather conditions or the rain or whatever, that people don't tend to, students don't tend to experience the outdoors in India, and which is a perfect opportunity in New Zealand. So a great place. And with that, can I now request John to please present a special souvenir to Kriti to welcome her into the Education New Zealand world. So this is beautiful. This is a special koru carving, which signifies new beginning, new life, growth, strength, and peace.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
now,
you.
Can I just tell you the significance of this carving?
That usually happens. We're done?
Right.
Thank you.
So this is a special koru carving. It signifies new beginning, new life, which is totally apt for this relationship which is starting with Kriti. Growth, strength, and peace. The circular shape of the koru helps to convey the idea of perpetual movement.
Whoa, sorry.
No, that's fine. It's
just
not
a stand.
broken, it's just a stand. While the inner coils suggest a return to the point of origin. So with that, we will now open the floor for questions. So if you have any questions specifically around education and Kriti's association with New Zealand education, or if you have questions from the ENZ spokespeople around courses and students and some of the new announcements, please feel free. This is your chance to ask. Just one request. Please raise your hands and we'll make sure a mic reaches you.
I have a feeling we've covered everything.
I know. I think we've covered everything, so we haven't left much
No,
of an
that's fine.
opportunity.
Hi, Kriti,
Hi.
at the back. Hi, Priyanka from Indian Express. Kriti, I wanted to ask that how much has there been a moment when you missed not, having studied abroad? Like you said that a lot of your cousins have studied in New Zealand. And also wanted to know that how much do you think a person evolves globally if he or she studies abroad?
Thanks, Priyanka, for the question. Missing studying abroad, I must tell you, I've given a GMAT entrance exam, and I have a score which I think now is not valid. I gave that with, a plan B, a backup thing for my parents, because my parents were like, oh, you've done your BTech and now you're not pursuing it, and you're going and you're doing something completely different. What if you don't, excel at that, and what if you don't get an opportunity? So I actually had an opportunity to go and study abroad, but I had sort of found my passion in films, and that's why I'm here. But I do feel that, yes, you do evolve as a person. I think when I see my friends or even my cousins who studied abroad, I think it sort of broadens their horizon. Their perspective on things is very different. I think, how living independently away from your family sort of evolves you as a person. It's almost similar, living away from your country, seeing the methods of other people, interacting with people who are culturally very different from you, I think also evolves you as a person. I think, I do realize it, that the more you interact with different cultures, the more you interact with different people, the more aware you are, and it internally changes you as a person where you don't even realize. I think even today, like when I'm in this profession, I feel that only because I'm able to talk to people with different opinions on things, am I able to think the way I do right now.
Absolutely, and I think this sort of relationship is that global citizen edge for you.
Yeah, sort of.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah.
I have a question for John. I want to know the degrees in law and arts from New Zealand. How successful are they in India or elsewhere across the globe? STEM I know is very successful, but I want to know about law and arts. The degrees you get there, how successful are they here?
I would say very successful. So it depends for taking law in the first instance. We do have world-ranked law faculties in New Zealand, and it does depend on which career plan or pathway the student might be wanting to take. But it is a very well-regarded degree internationally. I know, being based internationally myself at the moment, I have many colleagues who have studied law in New Zealand and now are forging global careers for very successful multinationals. In terms of the arts subjects, it is an area that, interestingly enough, doesn't always get the volume of international students to New Zealand, but the ones that do choose to study arts in New Zealand have a fantastic experience, and they also contribute a huge amount to our campuses in New Zealand. If we broaden the degree out to the creative industries, I think that is an area where New Zealand has a very unique proposition. So we're lucky enough to have the Lord of the Rings and Sir Peter Jackson, and a very thriving creative arts industry in New Zealand. So that means that in addition to the great lecturers and academics that the students get to work with, they can walk down the road and be in one of, not quite a Bollywood studio, but a New Zealand Wellywood studio, and be mingling with actors and with producers and with the creative arts industry. So it's a very connected environment where students get not just the learning experience in an academic sense, but also the life experience that sets them up for the future.
So I'm an arts graduate.
I am as
Kriti's
well.
an engineering graduate.
Yes.
2 arts graduates, 1 engineering.
Commerce.
Yeah. So there's a spread on the stage, and the arts have it.
And we've recruited Kriti to the arts since then as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Ruchita from Midday Gujarati. I just wanted to know that education is becoming so much costly nowadays. So what are the ways you are going to subsidize it and give concession or some kind of discounts to the students?
The excellence awards?
Yes. A plus for the answer.
A plus for the answer.
So as you would have seen, we are launching the New Zealand Excellence Awards today, and that offers 35 partial scholarships to high quality students who are looking to study at our New Zealand universities. That's one of several scholarships or awards programs that are offered either in partnership with Education New Zealand or through our education institutions. And for further information on those, I would suggest going to studyinnewzealand.govt.nz. That's our website there, which you can see over to the right. And on that website, there's a huge amount of information about the awards and scholarships that are available to international students. But we do recognise it's a significant investment for international students, and that's why, as the High Commissioner said as well, our government offers other programs such as PhD scholarships for all international students. So that is an area where we're committed to making sure there are avenues for high-quality Indian students to have a great experience in New Zealand.
And I think worth noting too, John, that those New Zealand Excellence Awards are specifically for Indian students.
Yeah.
So that's not a global program, that's a program specifically for Indian students.
All right. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience, and I hope all the questions were answered. May I now request you to join us for lunch just outside. Those of you who are planning to post any of the content from today on social media, these are the hashtags that you can use. Okay, and I think for the videographers, we collect on the left, my left. Thank you very much. We still need a photo op? Yeah. Okay, so can we have all the three spokespeople in?
Kriti, yes. Kriti, yeah. Kriti, corner पे. Kriti, Kriti, Kriti. Kriti, एक corner पे. Kriti, Kriti.
आई थिंक पहली बात तो एजुकेशन एक ऐसी चीज़ है जिसके बारे में मैं बहुत स्ट्रांगली फील करती हूँ, बहुत पहले से फील करती हूँ. आई थिंक एजुकेशन इज़ समथिंग जो आपकी पर्सनैलिटी को निखारती है. आपके ओपिनियंस जो हैं वो एजुकेशन पे बेस्ड होते हैं. आप कितने इन्फॉर्म्ड हैं, कितने अवेयर हैं, आप डिसीजंस अच्छे से ले पाते हैं अगर आप एजुकेटेड हैं. आपको सही गलत की अपनी ज़्यादा पहचान होती है. आप किसी भी प्रॉब्लम में हैं तो इफ़ यू आर एजुकेटेड यू कैन फाइंड अ वे टू गेट आउट ऑफ दैट प्रॉब्लम एंड यू आर नॉट अंडर कॉन्फिडेंट इन एनी सिचुएशन. So I think it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I'm so glad that I'm at this point in my career where I'm actually a little away from my educational degree into a film career. I'm still getting an opportunity to support the cause of education, and yes, it is a responsibility. I think I am in a way responsible as a catalyst maybe to shape the educational and career prospects for the students of our country in New Zealand. I think New Zealand has one of the best educational institutes. All the universities are in the top 3% globally, which is great. It offers such a variety of courses in a very safe and positive environment. So that was my one point when I was getting associated with them, because I think आज के ज़माने में technology इतनी important हो गई है that धीरे धीरे it's very important to move towards global citizenship, towards being global citizens who not only can stand tall in India but can stand tall globally, can interact with different people from different countries, can adapt to different cultures and surroundings. So I think when you have a sense of the methods of education from a different country, you evolve as a person, and it really helps you. And when you're getting such great opportunities in a country like New Zealand, nothing like it.
Okay, Kriti, कितना प्राउड मोमेंट मानती हैं आप इसलिए, क्योंकि एक इंडिया को आप न्यूजीलैंड के तौर पे और बॉलीवुड इंडस्ट्री को आप वहाँ पे प्रेजेंट कर रही हैं, तो क्या कहना चाहेंगे इसके बारे में?
I'm very honored. I'm very glad that I was the chosen person for education in New Zealand and from India. And I think, again, the way I said, education is something which I really feel for, and it's about the bright future of the students of our country. It's about getting them different opportunities, better opportunities, varied opportunities, so that they can stand tall in life, I think. And if I'm associated with that cause, I can't ask for more. आपने बरेली की बर्फी नहीं देखी? मैं अभी तक कोई भी ऐसा फ्यूचर मेरा प्रोजेक्ट नहीं है जो अनाउंस हुआ है या फिर मैंने अनाउंस किया है. So I would just request you to wait for a little longer. There are 2 projects actually which I've said yes to, and when the time is right, the producers will announce it soon.
काफी समय से किक 2 के लिए भी आपका नाम सामने आ रहा है. You are going to pair opposite सलमान. तो इसके बारे में कुछ कहेंगे आप?
Well, I would love to. I hope it's true.
Guys, can you please stick to the topic? Please, New Zealand education के बारे में पूछो ना और चीजें यार. Movies के बारे में बात.
But I just said that there's nothing that has been announced yet. There's nothing that I have announced yet. So please wait for that time. I think it's better if things come out in a clear way on what film I'm doing and when.
Okay.
Anything
What
else?
best thing about New Zealand you like apart from education, because you're already.
Apart from education, I think their culture, I think the vibe of the country, the varied climates, the adventure sports that they offer. So I'm yet to visit New Zealand properly and go on a tourist kind of a trip, which I would probably do soon.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. How many are these?
No, only this last. Google
We're not doing one-on-one. We're not doing one-on-one.